Praise. Hello.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Saturday, and you've arrived at the Synth Geekery show. If you're new here, massive hello to you. And if you're old here, we're not going to say not a massive hello to you. We're also going to say a massive hello to you too. So nice to have everyone here. It's early show time. Yay! Everyone loves early show. I don't know why we do it. We should just call it the show. Anyway, how's everyone's week been? Let us know in chat if you're having a good week or an indifferent week or whatever's up. We can chew the fat. Speaking of chatties, I don't know why, but I thought I'd change this. We should get the chatties involved, that's for sure. Let me just get the pop-out chat URL happening so I can show you guys. You guys are seeing it anyway, so it's not really like a big deal, but it's a big deal for me because on the replay, people like to see. People like to see. Here we go. And chatties time. Yay, there we go. So there's everyone. Why don't we say hello to everyone? There are no video callers in just yet. So I think Andy Synthetic was first. He gets to wear the yellow Guernsey for the week for being early. How are we going? Wow. Eddie's there, F-Rose, homegrown. Nice to see him. One of our channel members. Which is really cool, and big thanks for supporting. Steve Powell's there, so it's good to see Steve. And who else have we got? Just give me a second, because I've just got a message that's just come in while I'm talking, and I don't really want to miss out on the messages. So don't forget, we also have Patreons in here as well. So Steve Powell is one of our Patreons, so that's good to see him. And Wagoo, good to see Wagoo. Who else? Who else? Merbit's there, good to see Merbit. Where else are we? I'm just losing my place here. Martin Taylor and Keith in Watford, one of our channel members. How are you going, Keith? It's awesome to see you. JP Page 2, Atto Z, AZO Head, they're all coming in now. Roy Strobel, to Sophie Music, sup all, he says. QRDNK, hey there, he says. So yeah, good to see everyone in chat. So far, so good. Just a small group of you so far. That's a very boutique-y sort of show this is. What do we got to do today? We've got a few jobs to do today. I might just head on down into Polyend Tracker land, hey. Yeah, Polyend Tracker land. Which button's that? Which button is that? Is it? Good question. That's the button there. Right. I've got a firmware update. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago or last week or whatever it was. So I want to try and see if we can do a firmware update on this thing whilst you guys are watching. What could possibly go wrong? Okay, firmware. Firmware update. Enter. How do we do this? Yeah, we want to enter into the firmware update. There we go. And then we scroll down to that one, 1.6, because I know that is the correct one. We select it. Do we want to confirm? Yes, we do. Bye-bye. I did do a backup of the SD card. So not everything is lost. Do not worry, people. Basically, this thing is pretty useless without the SD card that's in the back. Isn't this exciting? Who else loves firmware updates? In a way, they're kind of a pain, aren't they? But at the same time, they're kind of exciting. So, it's, oh God, another firmware update. Oh, hang on a minute, I'm getting all these cool features. So it's a win and a loss at the same time. It's revenue neutral. I actually probably enjoy them more than most people, the nerd in me. Has anyone else in the chat channel got a Polyend Tracker? Let us know. I forget. I've probably asked you this before. Do apologise if I can't remember. I'm old. Hey, look at that. Look at that, everybody. It's done it. So, how do we know if we're on the latest firmware? Current version is 1.6. Well, that is awesome. That is pretty awesome. Okay, well, that's good news. Now, general settings. I'm just trying to see what they've got in here that's kind of sexy and new. It's really hard to remember what they had in here. Radio region. Probably should change that. Probably should change that. Look at that. That might help. I don't think I've ever changed that. Project settings. I think we're good there. Okay. Cool. Right. Let's bring you guys in at the same time. Everyone's talking to me. Wow. Steve Elbows says, yes, I did this update. You can choose a new font in the config now with 1.6. Okay, cool. I'll have to look at that in a sec. Roy Strobel says, yes, owning the OG Polyend Tracker. Nice. Good on you, Roy. It was quick and painless homegrown. It definitely was. It definitely was. Now, I've got to refresh my memories what was in this update. There was a whole bunch of stuff about instruments and stuff in here, wasn't there? Like that instrument section. So I'm kind of interested to know how that friggin' works. Instruments. Instruments. How does that all work? You can hear it, can't you? We should probably turn the volume up. That's very low, that volume. Look at that. Let's max it. Maybe not 12 dB. There we go. Oh, that's too loud. Try 0. What's 0 going to do to us? All right. We should do this. Now you can change the synth sound somewhere. Instrument, there we go. What's a fert? I don't even know what a fert is. What's a... Let's choose that one. Dearie me, that is not a good start. What's bounce? What does bounce do? Oh, I love playing with these sample type machines. 808 sounds. But we can load instruments through the file menu. No, not that way, not that way, not that way. We can load instruments that way. That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. And then we've got an instrument section in here. You've got drum kits and instrument kits and progressions and synths. Hey, we're a synth show, let's do synths. And these are all the cool synths that you can do. Now, I need to probably get the manual up and work out how to do this in front of you guys. And I don't know if that's what we want to do on a stream, because it'll be as boring as watching wallpaper dry and fade. And yeah, I don't know if we want to do that. But if it's a quick thing, if it's a really quick thing, let me just see how quick this is. It might be a really quick thing. Let's have a look. Getting the PDF open. And I'm not finding it real quick. Yeah, not finding it quick enough. Why don't I have a look while I've got other things happening anyway? So that's the firmware update. At least that's done. And then the next job is to work out how to get this instrument thing working. Which, yeah. I'm going to probably need to plug a MIDI controller in the back, yeah? We haven't got MIDI controller plugged in the back. I do have a MIDI controller just here, which we could plug in. So we could do that. Now this thing I think is DIN, MIDI DIN, TRS type DIN. Oh, I don't have those things in front of me. I should have thought of this. Okay, this thing is DIN DIN to TRS DIN. Okay. Or, I wonder if this MIDI can work over USB. If it does, let's try something here. Unplug it. We're going to lose power. Sorry, power. Probably shouldn't have done that. Plug it into the Mac. Sorry, guys. Let's see if this works. I wonder if this shows up on... I wonder. Let's go across to the Mac. Let's see if it shows up here. Oh, it does. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Oh, MPE support too. Are you kidding me? MPE support on the Polyend Tracker. That is cool. I wonder what that would do. Okay, well, in that case, I don't need to plug a controller into it. What I can do is we can use the key step that's plugged into here and change it to here. Wow, there we go. Now, that's the synth chords. Okay, at least we've got MIDI happening, and whilst I'm mucking around with other stuff, I'm going to find out how to get the synthy bit going, and you guys are probably swearing at me on the screen. Like piles on a damp wall. Yeah, I don't want to kind of take forever to read through a manual, and also usually what I do is I cheat and watch videos. But let me just do a quick search of the PDF here. Instrument because it's like a mode. I thought it was like a mode. So it's probably like a shift mode. Not sure. Instruments. That's definitely an instrument, but I just don't like. What I want to do is I want to load, not there, there, and I want to go into instruments here, and I want to load a synth, right? Why don't we just do it and see what happens? Surely it can't be that hard. And then obviously on this side here, how do I go across again? PDO. Yeah, why not? Okay. Oh, you can preview these. What does that sound like? All right, cool. Now let's go to instruments here. Oh, there it is, people. Oh, so you guys didn't see what I was doing then. Whoops, sorry. Okay, I'll redo it. It wasn't that hard actually. You go to sample loader, and in I was in this. I'll go back to the previous folder. So there's the root folder. Okay, so you're choosing instruments here. Then I chose synths. All right, and then you can actually preview all of these. So and I picked this one, PWM Mega. That's what I picked. As you can see, it's on there. Does that sound good for a friggin' digital sampling machine? Sounds like it's clipping a little bit, doesn't it, in the channel? Now you can, from what I've watched on the video, you can set all the CCs and everything. Like if you've got a proper MIDI control that's not crappy like the key step and you've got more knobs and things, you can set them to do things like cutoff and resonance and ADSRs and all that sort of stuff. And you literally can control like a proper synth. Let's try another one. Let's try, what's sequence? Add next. Yeah, why not? What could possibly go wrong? There we go, sequence. Okay, how do we change instruments to sequence? It still sounds to me like it's peaking. That could be what I did here in Ableton actually. It could well be this. I'll just knock it down a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Load end into it and see what happens. Where's end? I didn't see end. What are you talking about? I don't know what that means. There's no end here, but there are other things other than synths. Like, for example, there's instrument kits. Synth shots. Let's try that one. Oh, yeah, okay, so this, what this is doing is literally every single key on your keyboard is a different synth shot. And it's polyphonic. Oh God, let's try guitar. Oh, God help us, we try guitar. By the way, the stuff that's in here is a separate download to the firmware. So if you are going to be doing your update, Okay, that is not working chromatically, which says to me that maybe I haven't done something correct. Okay, but anyway, yeah. So far having a little bit of fun. Once you've got those samples though, you can actually go into your sample editor and then... Sounds like Seinfeld. We won't do that, we'll get a copyright strike. Anyway, this thing is such a cool, like the thing I love about this is the screen. Wish it was touchscreen, but it isn't. But this thing is such a cool bit of fun. The only thing that a lot of people hate about this is the pattern editor, but it is a tracker. It does take its homage from the old-fashioned tracker days, right? So, you know, you do have to kind of understand people that's what this is. It is. It's you know, if you want a proper sample thing, get a S2400 or get a MPC or something like that. This has its own little corner in the universe. So yeah. Read Steve Elbow's comments. Synths. Press Shift and Instrument to get the button to go into synth modes. Okay, cool. Shift Instruments. Okay. Go back to here. Here we go. There's the instrument synthesizer. Look at all the features you get on here, people. CC, this is how you set all your CCs. Okay. And this is the sample that we want to do. So let's go back to the guitar. There. You must stop the sequencer. Sequencer stopped. Anyway. I'm in the waiting room, says Synth Addict. And then Andy Brooks is also in the waiting room too. All right, cool. Let's bring him in. Let's bring him on in. Come on down. Let's change these people from synths to real people. So we'll start. I don't think we're going to have a Darren today for some reason. So. Brooksy, do you want to be there? Do you like being bottom right or bottom left?
I have no preference. Stick me wherever you want to stick me.
That there.
Careful of that one.
That there, that person there. That is, believe it or not, that is Henrik. He's going to come in as well. So, we'll just. I'm guessing that he's mucking around with his camera. Oh, excuse me. Okay. I want to load something better. Not there though. Let's go back to here. Oh, what
is it really a synth or is it just samples? It's like a romper.
It's a sampler, but they actually have a proper synthesizer now in it, and these are actually all apparently synths. Let's try that. And you go shift there. So all this stuff, we've got some noise coming from you, Henrik. Lots of loud noises.
Hang on.
There we go. All this stuff on the left-hand side is all your CC stuff that you can adjust. How clear is that? Is that a bit fuzzy? Do you want me to sort of do that? There's a lot there. That's a lot of stuff that you can assign, you like that? Bad English day today. You can assign your CV goodness to this. Let me just go down a little bit deeper. I just feel like it's not focusing today, that camera. It's being annoying. Why are you being so annoying?
Am I loud or low?
Oh, you're weird. You're very strange. Look at all of those CC stuff that you can assign.
Say exterminate.
Yeah, yeah. I am not human. There we go. And it does have effects that you can use as well. But yeah. Cool, cool. I'm relatively happy with that, but I'm not going to do any more with the Polyend for now, because I think it's, I just wanted to do a firmware update in front of people, because I like to see if things break. You might think that I'm crazy, but I actually prefer to do it on a live thing. Then people can see the pain that we go through, right, as musicians. Right now, I should be getting analog now. Let's add some LFO into that. All right, so that's now connect back up to that. Ranzee likes to share the pain. Yes, he does. Okay, so what is next is, what I was doing next was, okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you guys was a cool little trick that I was just playing with during the week. And that was, say for example, going into Ableton or your DAW, say you wanted to just have a little bass line, right? That you wanted to sort of just, let me see if I can get the bass line happening now. Let's get Blew Up happening. Have we lost MIDI, have we? Oh no, it's turned off. All right, so now that is the ARP 2600 through MIDI that's being controlled by the Blew Up. And because this is a pattern editor, I can control how I want this to sound. So if I don't want the double, I can just do that. Or I can have a bit more techno sounding, right? Or I can do volt octaves up and down. I can go upwards up. Let me go. Anyway, so that's the cool thing about Blew Up as a software instrument. You could also use the hardware version as well. But then, if I bring drums in, get my mouse back. I think that's the wrong view. And then you can just mute that little synth sound just by going back into your DAW and just mute it there. And you can bring those little sequences back in, bring some ARPs in. I just found it kind of useful, bring that bass line back in. And obviously if you wanted to make it sound different, you'd have to go back, walk over to the 2600, which we can do by going like this. Have a little wander over here, make it sound different. Let's turn all the other noises off. I'll leave that little blippy one going. In the way of the camera for a sec. All right, now we can adjust the way this sounds. Want more of a stab sound? So you just muck around with it there. Gets a bit boring after a while, doesn't it? Bring your sounds in. All right, now, the next thing is, you've got that little sequence sound, right? That little sequence sound is coming from here. So this is this making. That's what's making that sound, which is a 2600 oscillator. And then we can adjust. And you also got Rachel playing around here as well. And then you've got plunk, punk. All right, now let's get a sequence happening. Pretty easy to build stuff, isn't it? Once you just get a few things connected up. All right, what I'm doing there is I'm playing with this thing, this ARP section on this. And if we want to adjust the filter on this, we just adjust the mod wheel. I've got the mod wheel connected up. Getting sick of the bass sound, you just mute it.
It was like a movie chase sequence.
It's kind of a bit, it's a bit clean sounding, right? This is why I added this in, this kind of grunge sound. You just take the latch off here, this bit. And then you can just play with it with the filter. Anyway. Obviously, once I had all that going, I was kind of intending on playing 2500 over the top. Let's just bring the camera over to 2500 so you can see me mucking about there. What about you guys? I'm a big fan of movement in sounds. Do you know what I mean? Like, we want to have, what we want to have is we want to kind of have as much modulation capabilities as you can, but then being able to control that modulation so that you can bring it in and take it out as you need. So like what I was just doing then, is I've got two CV controls. One's for the filter, and then this one is for the LFO on the filter. You can just sort of back it off so it just wobbles a bit, or you can add more. So you can make it really harsh, and then you can speed it up. Some FM sort of stuff. Then when you've got all that other sequency stuff happening in the background, you can then cause those sort of things to do random stuff, right? So for example, if you're using something like, gotta get my camera thing here again. If you're using something like the Metropolis, right? You can play around with how this all sort of triggers. Okay, so at the moment I think I've got it a random sequence here. So it's literally just firing off these sequences randomly. Plus, also you'll notice some of these steps are firing 2 or 3 like ratchets at the same time. So you can set ratchets just by holding down the step here and adjusting. Actually, that's not it, sorry. There, and you can adjust your ratchets there. So that's 3 ratchets, 2 ratchets, 1 ratchet, which is really easy to get to. Just hold it down. You can do it with one hand. The other thing you can do is play with your divisions. So you can change the scale to a minor or Dorian. Then you can also change how many steps, and then you've got all this. This is the, you know, the 185 features where you've got these held notes, muted notes. Just kind of handy that you can just play with that sort of stuff while you, then you add your arpeggiator back in. And I've got 2 hands on 2 keyboards. I think the latch will be helpful if I was doing this sort of stuff. Anyway, build. Zoom out. We won't turn that latch off there. I'm finding the Nifty Keys to be a really, really handy keyboard in my setup. Really handy, like to the point where I'm using both facets of it. I'm using the CV part of it, obviously. Have a look at my little spider's web there. And I'm also using the MIDI part of it. And the reason why I'm using the MIDI part of it, as I'll show you over here, if I go into Ableton, you can actually see in Ableton, well, you can't actually see it, but in Ableton, right, the MRCC is what I've got connected. Oh, I probably should. Those who are watching who don't know what an MRCC is, it's a little MIDI router thing that I've got, right, there, in the corner. That's the MRCC. So basically you connect all your gear up MIDI-wise, whether it be USB based or DIN based, to that. And the Ableton will keep a clock going to it. So the arpeggiator is synced to Ableton, and as a result, I'm able to then sync all the CV stuff. It's very, very handy. Really, really handy setup. Yeah. What do you guys think of that sort of stuff? Is that kind of floating boats or was it crap?
I've got a question to ask you, Rans, actually. Before I rush out and spend me money. That punk module. That punk module. See, I was going to get the CR preamp that you'd shown previously because that seemed really, really dirty and
Yeah.
But now they've brought this one out, and I'm sort of thinking, is it probably better to go for that one? That's what I'd like to know.
The punk is a different beast. So the punk is actually 2 channels of gain, and they're both different.
Yeah.
And you've also got and then you've also got the switch between a diode or a FET, MOSFET type, what do you call it? Preamp. And then internally you've got the low and high gains, which is kind of like your mixer channel. So in a way, this is kind of like an extension to my Mix BX. Plus, I get another type of preamp in there, which distorts, which is number 2. If you wanted just that real sort of TB303, that pure TB303 distorting sort of sound, then I would go from the pre-TR, because you just literally just max it out and just leave it set, and that does the job. But with this, you've got some kind of funky features, like you've got the blend. So I've got my blend kind of half, as you can see, right? So it's kind of sitting at half there. And the more you blend it, or the less you blend it, depends on how much kind of distortion you get in it. Then you can also, it's kind of double gains, because you've got your input level, and then you've got your gain level on your preamps, and then you've got your blend. So you're kind of double gaining it. And the blend is a mix between the original signal that comes in and what the preamps are doing. So you kind of get, it's kind of like a little mini mixer in that sense, but obviously you don't have any other inputs other than the one that's coming in. But the blend makes it kind of like a mini mixer in that sense, like a send and receive blend type thing. So, yeah. I mean, I could send it to you and you'd never play with it for a couple of months and you just send it back if you don't want it.
Come on, Rand, you know how this works. That's a very kind offer. Well, I want a distortion in my rack, and I was sort of umming and ahhing. So I think it's probably a good one to go for. Actually.
The other one is the pre-CR, right? Which is this it? No, that's the quad out. I've got the pre-CR just pulled out momentarily, and I can't find it. It's in here somewhere. You guys have seen it. I mean, I think the pre-CR is really just that go-to TB303 distortion sound that you want. I don't think you can tame it as much. I think the Punk has got more tameable controls on it, but it's not as much control as I'd like. I'd like more. It kind of feels like everything has to be like 9.5 or 10, and then it works. But anything other than that, it's kind of just really just a preamp. I don't know. Yeah. I do find the low and the high blends on that, they do really boost. They're like super boosty. So that does kind of do some cool things with kick drums with the low boost. You can get an 808 sounding kick drum to really sort of make fart sounds, which is it's everyone's motivation in music, make an 808 fart. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. You can distort your 808 kick. Yeah. Hendrik, how are you going?
That's sort of. Sorry, hi Henrik.
I'm doing fine.
Hi Andy. Sorry, not so hi.
Hi Andy.
Now your audio is digitally affected somehow. I don't know what you've done.
Okay. I'll try to reconnect in stereo instead of mono. Perhaps it's better this time.
Okay.
Hang on.
Yeah. I'm kind of thinking like, in Eurorack land, one of the things that really kind of peeves me off is tuning, okay? Especially with all the vintage recreation stuff, right? And we all wanted it, right? And a lot of people forget that they moved away from it because it used to piss musicians off. They used to get sick of having to tune stuff. So I really do love, I'm not saying I don't like the analog vintage stuff, I do love it, right? But sometimes you just don't want to fuff about with tuning. You just want to plug it in and it friggin' just works, which is why they went with DCOs and it's why they went with digital and VAs and stuff like that, right? So what I would like to see is some, in my setup, I'm not talking about someone make it because someone has made it or other people have made it. What I would like to see in my setup is a bit more sort of variety with oscillator choice for me. Like I've got Brains, which is the, the mutable instruments one. So that, you can muck around with stuff like that. But I'm kind of thinking like I wouldn't mind a DCO-based oscillator as opposed to a VCO-based oscillator. Because I've got plenty of VCOs.
It's interesting you're saying that, Rans, because that's something that I've also been looking at. I mean, I've really, really enjoyed playing with Plats recently, just as an oscillator and treating it as such and going through VCA, VCF, envelopes within the System 100. So it comes to life more than when you treat it as just its own thing. When it's its own thing, it sort of goes ding and ding, and it's really hard to tell the difference between one thing and the next. I find that until you put it into as an oscillator mode, and then you get it, and that's really been a lot of fun. But I was also again looking at digital oscillators for that very reason, and I've not actually bought one, but the ALM MCO. So it's digital, but it'll do all the standard waveforms plus a few other little tricks, and it's not stupidly expensive. So there are so many out there. I mean, honestly, I've spent ages and ages and ages watching videos about the 4MS spherical thingamajig whatnot doodah thing with all the lights. I can't remember the name.
Oh yeah, another one.
It's really, somebody just mentioned Steve Davis and Gaz Williams' show, and he had one in his
spherical wavetable oscillator.
Hang on, stay there, Henrik. Stay there. Stay there.
Something like that. There's two things, but
what happened? He's paused. We've got the palm of his hand. The world is in the palm of Henrik's hand right now.
Thank you, Martin. The people that also done the Zephyr. I was watching the Zephyr thing as well.
The Zephyr, yes, that's the one I was kind of looking at. Yeah. I'm glad someone brought that up.
Pricey though.
Oh yes.
But then again, why am I saying that? Because it's the same price range in the same sort of area as something like the Presonus. It's the same sort of digital grungy nasty.
Yep.
But it sounded ace. I really thought it never ends. It never stops. But
they're easy.
I looked at the price of that spherical wavetable thing and just nearly choked, unfortunately. But it is very lovely. Probably a penny. That's okay. Oh.
Yeah, for distortions, I use a WMD Geiger counter. It's pretty wild shit.
Yeah.
We can see it, but we can't quite see it because it's behind all the spaghetti.
Yeah, it's all hidden on the camera. We'll trust that it's there. There it is.
That's the one.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is a good thing.
You've got QD in there as well, Henrik. Yeah.
Yes.
But I don't love it. I have some problems syncing the spherical navigator, or what it's called, Swan. Syncing it. It never starts the same place when I stop the clock and start the clock, and that's a problem. So I don't use it much. I am thinking of getting the Nifty keys and then use it there as a polyphonic synthesizer. That's what I will use it for in future, I think.
Okay, so people ask me all the time about the Nifty keys, which is understandable. Now, number one, I bought that, so it's not. I didn't get any kickbacks from Create Audio. I just literally jumped on it, just like you would when something new comes out and you're really excited about it. There's a few quirky things with it. okay, which I've mentioned before, like the split outputs is really kind of weird to get your head around. It would probably work in some scenarios, like if you were just using 2 separate channels on a mixer and you wouldn't care because you could just pan them independently. But in terms of copulating, what would you put in it? See, to me, we talked about this the other week, right? I definitely am going to look at going down the path of Doepfer. I can't do it right now because, you know, we just don't have money growing on the trees. But I've currently got, as you can see, 4 of those Behringer System 100M clone modules. The problem with those is they don't all behave the same. Even though they're the same module, there's slight different antiquities with them. Like, for example, if you pull the filter down all the way on some of them, the filter closes lower or higher, and it's kind of like they're not all perfectly calibrated, which is kind of it's a frustration. I don't know if it's the nifty keys doing that, if it's the envelope generator from Clavis that's doing that, or if it's the actual module. So, you know, I'm not that technically minded, so I wouldn't know. Whereas if you've got the Doepfer, you're not going to have those problems because they're in one module, and all your oscillators are in one module, and it's kind of stable. So Doepfer is not the only option too, because there are others that do polyphonic setups. Like I think, is it Make Noise do a polyphonic thing? I think it's Make Noise. It's either Make Noise or it's the other guys. I always get them mixed up sometimes too. I'm pretty sure it's Make Noise, the guys that do maths. I'm pretty sure they do a polyphonic thing. Anyway, my sort of take on this is that setup that I've got, it sounds like kind of like a Jupiter 4 from Roland, right? It's kind of got that sort of sound to it. I mean, it's not a full Jupiter 4 because there's things that Jupiter 4's got that doesn't, but that doesn't matter. It's got that flavor to it, but I'm on the same page as Andy. I think that there's a point where you just run out of options with it because it's only got three types of waveforms. The filter is very clean sounding. It does whistle a bit with the resonance, but it's very, very clean sounding. It's not, it doesn't grunge up much. You can't really overdrive it that much. You can feed the filter back into something and you put another module and another VCA and things like that. You can do that, but just as it is, the basic module by itself, it's very clean sounding, which I like, but you kind of get bored with it pretty quick. But geez, it makes beautiful pad sounds. Oh my God, like it is absolutely gorgeous at making string, 4-voice string with massive tails. You will just, put it through a phaser pedal or something. It's just beautiful in that sense. So it's got some really powerful.
Have you tried the Polycinematic?
What's the Polycinematic?
Yes.
By Novula?
Haven't you heard of the Polycinematic? Ooh.
They have a few modules.
It's an 8-voice polyphonic Eurorack module.
Yeah.
The same
It's
people
like
that
pink
make
and
the
blue, and it's got some crazy colors on it.
Oh, yes. I think we showed that, didn't we? It's a digital thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like plug and play.
Not by Nobula.
It's very, very nice sounding.
Yeah, I remember this.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, you're looking at what about 450 pounds or something, 400 pounds for one of those. It's not a cheap module.
350, I think. No, it's
350, is it?
Not 350. Well, it's an 8, but you've got to remember it's an 8-voice polyphonic thing, and it's got MIDI, so you could just stick it in your rack. I mean, what I'm thinking of is having that sort of thing in the rack and playing it polyphonically from the key set. So I've got a polyphonic chord thing in the rack that's quite convenient. It's not as big as, say, like the Nifty Keys. It's a different sort of solution. It'll be a totally different sort of sound, but it does the strings sort of thing it really, really nicely. There's some beautiful demos out there on the old interweb.
You compared that to the one Robin Vincent had. It was 8 VCOs in a little box.
Yes.
That one's expensive because you still have to route a bunch of crap to it, and so there are other options for poly.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's this got? This has got MIDI. Okay, so MIDI in. Yeah. Okay, right. So, but how would you control this CV wise? You couldn't. You'd have to only be able to do it with MIDI.
You can do one thing. Yeah, you can do if you're doing it proper polyphonically, then MIDI. But you can do a chord, and then you can play that chord back from via CV. So it'll do a chord capture, and it'll play the chord back for those nice techno sort of stab sort of things or housey sort of thing. That's one way of doing it, and it's also stereo, so it'll do a nice stereo spread. It's quite a nicely specified little box. I think it's really quite a desirable thing. Count Nobula, I think I saw that movie. Thanks, Wagyu. You would have done, wouldn't you? You're lowering the tune again. Ew, dear me.
Well, yeah, I think it's a terrible American cereals.
We're saying it's only available in Transylvania or something, is he?
No, he's just being. Stop it, Wagyu. Behave yourself.
Synthsylvania.
This is a tasteful show. Yes.
So something like that, or maybe not that. Maybe one of there's like if you go to let's go Modular Grid, we can just do it, and you just go search polyphonic. There's quite a few options, right?
Yeah, the Dopfer range which you're just mentioning.
Dopfer is the one I want to get next. Do I need to log in? Okay, go modules.
I've become a bit of a fan. There's sort of something that I sort of overlooked at the start of it because they're the original ones, and Dopfer, well, they're not that. Actually, they're really good. What they do really, really well, and they sound great. That A111-6. Snappy name, isn't it? That little synth voice module, that's just great. That just sounds fab.
That's when the Robin had the Poly 8. It's big and expensive.
Yeah, that's it. Wavephonics.
That's a big sucker, isn't it, that one? Ooh, look at that.
Yeah, that is.
Where's the one I was looking at?
Like an Oberheim, you got to tune everyone's manually.
Yeah, there's another one somewhere else. And I can't find it. Look at some of these; they're massive, right? Some of these, huge, massive modules.
Well, they've got things in that aren't there yet. I mean, the Pro 800's not out, is it? No one's seen hiding a hair of that thing. If you scroll up a bit, there it is.
Yeah,
we talked about it on here that their version of like the Prophet's. What was it? The Prophet 600. It's not
600. Yeah.
It's not coming. That would be
a bad thing. You could also use 2 twin waves from Clavis. They're quite good.
Oh yeah, of course.
I can't find
the chord.
There's the dope for stuff. So there's the dope for VCF. So that's one module you would get. We've talked about this stuff before though. And then you get the oscillator, which is the somewhere else. It's not here yet.
It's weird they're putting the Model D in with the polyphonic. It's only polyphonic if you tune the 3 oscillators.
It's not really, is it?
To a chord. No.
Yeah, it hasn't. That search hasn't really done. There's the 4-Vox Flame. So that's a quad polyphonic wavetable oscillator, which would be interesting. There's other stuff. I don't know why it's not showing up. Unless I'm not seeing it because I'm scrolling past it.
Oh yes, the 1010 bit box is good too.
Yes.
Yeah. It's samples, of course.
That's also on the shopping list.
Yeah.
Oh dear, it never stops, does it?
You got to be careful though, because I guess in a way we're going to end up with, a synth that you can have on your desktop anyway. So at the point where what you're trying to do in Eurorack is what you possibly can't do with the synth on, with its internal patching capabilities. That's kind of the point of Eurorack. If you can just achieve the same thing with the synth that you've currently got, like your Novation, for example, Brooksy.
If you can, other people may want to emulate a synthesizer they will never afford.
True.
course, Modular is not cheap, so
Yeah.
perhaps it's cheaper to get the synth you can't
Um,
True.
I was actually thinking slightly differently. My thinking sort of changed a little bit in recent months as I've been doing the EMOM nights and jamming with Grace and stuff. Is that just having something in the Go case that's got a bit of everything, so digital, analog, samples, drums, effects, mixing, because so that I just have to take out the one case and the BeatStep Pro or the BeatStep Pro and the whatever this is called, KeyStep, and that's the way I'm sort of looking. Which is what you could say. Oh well, you can take your MPC along as well. And yeah, it's when you've got 15 minutes to set up, having another thing to sort of plug in and wire in and check that the MIDI's working and that you got, well, actually, it's another layer of complication. Whereas I know if like Henrik mentioned, the 1010, put that in and your samples are there when you switch it on. Well, we switch on and set it to load, I suppose. It's in your rack and ready to go, and that appeals a lot. I'm not saying ditching the MPC quite yet. It's just a different format for when playing live. I think that's the way I'm going. If everyone nips and listens to Gaz Williams and Steve Davis, that's full of samples. There's samples everywhere, bits of speech and all sorts, and that'll all be contained within various little boxes in the Eurorack. And that really does appeal to me.
Yeah, I think the one I was thinking of, Brooksy, was this one, the 4MS one.
Oh yes, 4MS ensemble oscillator. That's cool. Yeah, I've watched videos about these 4MS modules.
16 complex oscillators.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes I think is it overkill though? Is it just like whoa? Is it just too much for my poor little pea brain to understand?
Probably. I'm the same.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with that wave tape. That spherical wave. It just sounds fab, but I'm not sure that Jeremy Redmean's recording did a brilliant one on it too, and it just makes it all sound fantastic. And
well, like you were saying before, like with the the Behringer brains or the mutable instruments, right? With those type of sort of real digitally sounding type oscillators, once you put them through an analog sort of signal path, once you put them from an analog VCA and a VCF, and you can kind of, and you EG it and you put some modulation through it, you can really tame them and you can get them to sound really quite warm and analogy, and even though they're a digital oscillator, right? So the oscillator itself doesn't have to actually be, analog sounding for me. Because one of the things I've noticed is like when I use my SID Guts Deluxe, right? The SID chip oscillators are really quite edgy, just as a pure oscillator sound. They're really edgy sounding. And once you then put them through your other stuff, it's actually beautiful because that edge, hooks on to harmonics, it hooks on to filters as you sweep through the frequencies, and those sort of things are really important, I feel.
Look at all the DSI stuff, those digital oscillators with analog filters. So
yeah, exactly.
Sounded great.
Yeah. Yep. I thought so. I could never afford it. That was my problem with Dave Smith.
I'd get used, but yeah.
Yeah, you can get used. Even though, like, I saw this guy was trying to sell me a Prophet 8 a little while ago, and it was like, it was that close for me to pull the trigger. And then I don't know, I just backed out of it. I just thought to myself, but in the end, it's just not quite as good as a Prophet 6, or it's not quite as good as the original Prophet 5. I just kind of, there was just that little hesitance with me. So I've gotten close to buying DSI stuff.
Like Polyvolvo was able to take advantage of the fact that the encoders that came with them were bad, so they had a swap out program. So I got a cheap one that was messed up from a guy. Knew I was going to get the swap out boards, and ended up getting a really good deal on it. So
you've got the luxury of living on the west coast of the US, where there's gear aplenty, right? That's the luxury you've got.
Well, sure, but most of my stuff is shipped to me, so it's not all just right here. I do have
but it's mainland US shipping. It's not like it's going from freaking Japan to you, right? Some cases,
but I got stuff from Japan for free sometimes. Sometimes shipping from other places is free. It's crazy. So,
really? Wow.
yeah.
I bought a Korg Electrode from Japan once in the early days. I bought it off eBay, and I was really gutted because it stunk like it's come from someone's stinky smoking studio. It had tar all over the buttons.
It's like my K2000 was all stinky. Yeah.
Oh, I hated it. I cleaned it and it went away, but it was so gross.
It's okay if they tell you that, but if you get it as a surprise, it's a very nasty surprise.
Yeah, they didn't tell me. When I opened it up, the little sort of silicon buttons on it had all this little grungy tar goo underneath them. This guy must have smoked like a chimney. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, where we're at. Hey, we should probably get on to... by the way, hi, Andy. I forgot to say hi to you. You've just been sitting in the corner there.
Can I get a confirmation?
You me? I'm in Hi, everyone.
Hi, Brooksy.
You still sound like a Dalek.
You can, but I kind of wish we could fix your audio up somehow. What do you think it might be? Is it your...
Is this better?
That's a little bit better. What was it?
Another camera.
Speak again.
Keep speaking.
No, not just this camera.
Oh,
One,
okay.
2, 3. It's the same type of
That's
camera.
better audio.
It's a cheap Zoom
Right.
Q2N 4K.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. So you're using the audio from each camera as you change inputs.
Yeah, and I also have a delay because it's via HDMI.
So
that's annoying.
With the A10 Mini, you can actually set a separate audio input if you want to.
Yeah, I know, but it's...
Oop, we lost him. We lost him. Hopefully Denmark hasn't gone offline. But yeah, he'll come back eventually. It's not my end, is it? You guys are all fine? Yep. Oh, everyone's gone. No?
Yeah. No, I'm here. Can you...
No,
Hello?
we're good.
I'm still here. I'm still working. Andy's moving about.
Oh, here he is.
Henrik's
He's back.
moving.
Yeah, he's back now.
Yeah, but it could be my wires where the ATEM maybe loose.
Well, that audio is much better, so stick with that. So what were you were going to make a point? Continue with that.
It's just some cheap cameras, and I just got this Atom Mini Pro, and I'm running it all via HDMI, which are the inputs on the Atom, and it looks stupid when I do this. It's because I have the Atom here.
Uh-oh. No audio.
No audio. I lost audio, Ranz.
I think I'm back. Yeah.
Yeah, Henrik. I think you must be muted, Ranz.
Ranzee, not Nancy.
Can you hear me?
Can now, yes.
Okay. Hey, we should get stuck into the regular show. Where is that? We should go with probably funny side, maybe for a start. Yay! This one you sent in, didn't you, Henrik? When are you going to stop all this FM synth stuff? Says the lady. You are starting to sound like my ex-wife. I didn't know you've been married before. I haven't. Very clever. I wonder if Robbie's had that discussion. Anyway, moving right along. What else we got? Speaking of Robbie, Yamaha DX7 is just a Rompler with only one ROM sample. Changed my mind. I like that one. I thought that was clever. All the FM lovers in the audience. Please, no more FM jokes. I can't handle it. Okay, I promise.
Just don't get me started on Steven Crowder. Yuck.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like that each month. Yeah.
I don't know what's more expensive, the flowers or the synth. There's a lot of flowers there. And this is the greatest Venn diagram ever. It absolutely is. Okay, so can you guys work it out?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an oldie.
This is a beauty. So
I've not seen that before. That's really cool.
I've actually I've reintroduced some memes from some of my earlier shows too, because I thought some of these need to be reshown. You know, people that watch my early shows aren't. There's possibly not even anyone in the chat that has watched one of my early shows, so I think it's kind of safe.
Have you actually seen a platypus down there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They don't sort of hang out everywhere like you'd think, but
No, just it'd be cool to see one in person. That and an echidna, they're both really weird animals. So.
Yeah, just got to stay away from that little sort of nail that they've got behind one of their paws.
Yeah, the poison spike. Yeah.
You don't want to get near that thing. Anything, even cute little platypuses will kill you in Australia. Anyway, so what was your favourite meme this week, gentlemen? And chatties?
The roses.
Yeah, the flowers are pretty good.
I reckon that would make a good shirt, that Venn diagram. It says,
Yeah, I like.
to Sophie Music.
Send it in, but I like the ex-wife too.
The ex-wife, yeah. Red roses, that seems to be, the first one, Homegrown says, the first one, which was the FM joke. Yes. I think a lot of people are relating. Yeah. I mean, look, our pain is real. We're just sick of handkerchiefs and undies and socks for presents. So, just buy synths. So stop your whinging. Anyway, we shall go into this subject, which is news. Yes, now, that is not that. That is not that. I will fix that, as I always do. God, this is annoying. Right. This is kind of sad. And I kind of wanted to talk about this because, we were literally talking about these guys. I probably could even tell you, actually, when we were talking about these guys. Because it was the Vectra synth that they announced, wasn't it? And I reckon it was around about episode 139, which is 30 episodes ago, which we were talking about the Vectra synth. We could probably even check that out. Maybe. I think we'd be allowed to do that. Let me see if I can bring that up as an input. Web browser, there, okay, and then let's hope there's no ads. Here we go. We have talked about this thing before. In fact, we will actually show.
I've been selling my handmade goods through
And of course, YouTube wants to add. Hang on, I'll just bang it out. There we go. A video that we have shown before. This. Oh, don't buffer on me. This is probably one of the most expressive synths that I have seen in a long time. All right, so that was us chatting away about the Vectra synth back in whatever it was, 30 episodes ago. And then we even mentioned in that show, we even mentioned that we talked about it before as well. So that was, I think it's sad. I think, Jared, who's the guy that's behind Future Retro, he's literally basically just said, I just give up. I can't fulfill orders. I can't get the parts. I can't get couriers to work, play ball nicely. COVID's been an issue. There's a whole bunch of reasons. And so basically 25 years of developing stuff, the door's closed. Now, I'm going to get you guys to talk about this for a sec, but let me just quickly mention some of the things that he invented. He invented, obviously, the Electro, which we just showed. He also did this awesome keyboard called the, I think it's the 512, and it's kind of similar to that keyboard that you saw on the Vectra, but it was just a CV keyboard. And a lot of people bought that. It was actually very handy. And he's done eurorack modules as well. Like, for example, he did the transient, which I liked. I think we talked about that, Brooksy. The transient that's a cool module, which is kind of like trigger and audio manipulation. It was kind of cool. And then he did things like the Zillion retro sequencer and stuff like that. All right, comments from you guys, and then we'll get comments from the chatties. Who wants to go first? Talk about future retro and how kind of it's a big loss, I feel.
It is sad because they were making interesting, innovative, unusual machines that were genuinely interesting, if not necessarily cheap. I mean, I remember that video when they were showing that joystick thing of saying, you know, yeah, it sounds really good, but look at all that outboard it's going through. Of course, we didn't know whether it's going through it or not. All those SSL, units and Pultec EQs and compressors, but actually it doesn't matter that the thing was really interesting. I believe they did make a batch of those and sold them all. Yep. I think that was mentioned on Pro Synth Network yesterday. But it's just sad when somebody's spent 25 years of their life doing something, and now they've just had to say, well, I can't do it because I can't get the parts to continue. That's just really sad. If they build the things, they can't sell the things. If they can't sell the things, they've got no income, and that's it. Game over. And it is sad. Then they're not the first, are they? And they're probably not going to be the last.
No, they're definitely not going to be the last. We'll talk about another one in a sec too. Yeah. And they were into Eurorack. They were doing synths. They were doing sequences. Andy, did you ever get any of their gear? Oops.
Actually, I have a couple of things, but the only one I can find handy is this guy.
Yeah, the Zillion. Yeah.
Which is a really clever resizing, reinvention of the Tridex Muse, invented at MIT by Marvin Minsky and some other famous guys. I don't know if you guys know Marvin Minsky. Did a lot of computer stuff back in the 80s and 90s and stuff. But I don't have the adapter for it. I was trying to find it to plug it in. But basically, it's if you look up the Tridex Muse, it's on Vintage Synth website. It's pretty clever. It's this big matrix thing with sliders and stuff. It's basically a sequencer / synth that was kind of... It's not really random or aleatoric, but it's an odd beast. And so these guys thought it was cool to basically, no one had one except for an old crappy Windows VST of it. So they decided to make this in a little box called the Zillion. And it's a pretty clever little guy, but I've only used it a handful of times because it's weird. But they definitely made some really good sequencers, some Berlin School type sequencers, one that looks a little bit like the Circlon. That had a boatload of I/O. It had like sync and MIDI and CV gate and a bunch of it had Hertz volts as well as volts per octave. It did like a little bit of everything. It was like a converter / sequencer. It's very clever. So it's really sad to see these guys go because they're pretty interesting guys, interesting ideas. Yeah,
I kind of agree. You're probably lucky that you got some of their gear. This was that 512 keyboard that I was talking about. This was very popular. So it's a MIDI to CV keyboard, and it's one of those capacitive touch type keyboards, which have a lot of people like that sort of stuff. And then I mentioned before, Brooksy, the transient. That was that drum / audio manipulation thing. If you can get yourself on one of these modules, these will start to go up in price. It is sample based, and you can see the little SD card slot next to the screen there in the middle. But some of those controls, was pretty handy. Have a look at Transient Plus on Modular Grid. You'll see what I mean about it. It's pretty cool. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff that they did as well. So yeah, it's kind of sad. What about you, Henrik? What are you thinking about all this?
It's sad, but we knew this would happen with not only that company, but with many companies. We are entering a crisis, not only on components, but with all that's happening in Ukraine and Russia, and perhaps even more than that. It's not looking good. So a lot will happen, I think, and it's sad, yes.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think as synth users and gear users, we're the power. We should get around these. If you're a company that you're struggling right now, I don't see the harm in reaching out to the community and saying, hey guys, look, we are really struggling to get parts and to do this and to do that, and for us to stay afloat, we need certain movement of product because that's what pays the bills. I think some communication. The synth community is a pretty warm place, and one of the things, Power of the People could help. But at the same time, what you're saying, Henrik, I think the sign of the times. It's sad that could put some of these synthesizer companies under. We don't really want to see that. Like, imagine one of your favorite module makers or one of your favorite, if they all of a sudden stop making synths, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, but I think we've been living like in a bubble where everything got cheaper and everybody wanted to make something new and did, and it was a great time, but now the bubble is bursting, and I think we will have to wait 10 or 20 years more before it happens again. I'm afraid we are moving down.
Things might become more expensive to circumvent these things. That could be a possibility. Would we be willing to pay more for stuff is the question, isn't it? Would you, like, for example, if, pick a company, say Novation said, right, we can't sell the Peak anymore for whatever it is, we have to add another £500 to the price to make it, how would that go across the community? There's those sort of realities, isn't there? What do you think, guys?
Well, they can put the prices up, and I suspect prices are going to go up, but unless people's salaries keep pace, which certainly in the sector that I work in, they won't, people won't have the disposable income. I've noticed it already in the last couple of months with the rise in fuel and the rise in electricity and gas prices. My disposable income has shrunk noticeably, which means I can't rush out now and grab myself a eurorack module or two every month like I've been doing for the last 18 months or so. I have to say, right, okay, can't do that. I have to wait and save and then get it when the slush fund has topped up again, and that's going to be inevitable. People are just going to are not going to be able to spend money on what are essentially non-essential items, luxury items. But there'll always be some people who've got plenty of money because that's the way of the world. But those on low to moderate incomes are going to have to look very, very carefully about buying things, because money is going to be tight.
We've got Eric in the chat. Eric was talking about this I'm pretty sure on Facebook during the week. He knows Jared, and he's saying that he thinks that he will keep seeing more from him. Jared is the guy that is behind Future Retro. So basically he's selling his house in Texas and finding something cheaper and smaller, but let's hope so. Let's hope that's not. Let's hope it's not the last thing from him, because it's
Ranzee, in the private chat, I put the link to the Tridex Muse. You can put that in the chat. If you want to see what it looked like, it's pretty wild.
I don't know if it's the same reason that mutable instruments stopped or are stopping. I think it is. Problems with getting components and
it's got to be a
prices rising.
You'd have to ask Emily. Like she talked about shutting doors quite some time ago, though. I think it was even prior to COVID. I remember her talking about slowing things down a while ago. So when she did finally announced that she's not, there's not going to be any more made. That's it. It was like a few months ago. I think that was just the reality of the door. It was a slow process between when she first said, right, it's probably not going to be a forever thing for me. I'm going to be moving on to different things in life.
Yeah, right around the time Clouds is going to get decommissioned, she was talking about that.
Yeah. So it was a long time ago, and definitely was before COVID, and it was definitely before chip shortages. Look, there's a few comments in chat, like people saying that the car manufacturers get first choice of chips at the moment. I mean, there's all this EV craze going on at the moment. You literally couldn't buy an electric vehicle in some countries right now. They're so hot because of the fuel crisis that's going on. Royce is saying in chat, good news. There is a successful Kickstarter to reprinting Alan Strange's electronic music systems, techniques, and controls. Yeah, I saw that. So I need to dig up that. There's a book that came out many years ago, and we do need to probably bring that up. It was actually pretty important. I forgot about that. Let me see if I can find that in Google while we're talking anyway. So this is the book. Just going to get a copy. Sorry guys, one sec. Did that just download in the wrong folder? Please tell me that didn't. Good, it didn't. All right, here we go. It does take me a couple of seconds to get things off the internet. That is the book that we're talking about. Now, this is actually a really good book. There's things in this book that are actually, worth their weight in gold. It's awesome that this is going to get reprinted. So that's what we're talking about. Thanks, Roy, for bringing that up. Okay, we should move on to the next subject in news. We do have a product to talk about, which I think is cool. This really pricked up my ears and eyes. The Scrat by Neutral Labs. What is cool about this is that you've got a Steiner Parker filter module here, right? But see those little sort of chippy looking things hanging off over on the right? What you do is you plug those in to the little pin header just underneath the Scrat logo itself. You'll see there's a little pin header thing there, right? And each one of those does different things. And this is a really cool idea. Like, this really got the nerd propeller going on me. Let's have a little look at the video anyway. There's nothing plugged in right now, so it's just showing you the Steiner Parker filter at this stage. Nice, it's got the pre-amp in it too. So everyone's wondering, it's a 2-pole 12 dB per octave filter. You guys noticing the drive circuit on that? All right, let's see if we can get some of these So he's plugged a little photo resistor there. Like D-beam, isn't it, guys? This is pretty cool. There we go, here's one of these cartridges. So they're little bits of electronic on them, right? There you go, Andy. This could be what you're looking for, mate. Just a gnarly looking...
I like it.
This is cool. All right, before we like start throwing our cash at the screen, that is pretty cool, isn't it? I do like the little electronic plug-in thing. I mean, I'd be worried about losing those little things, but you can actually stick your own electronics into them as well. It's not like it's limited to just that. But they're calling them cartridges. They're calling them like presets or whatever. But I've never seen a preset as a bit of electronics before. I think that's very, very cool. Who wants to have a quick comment about that?
Cards.
Buchla cards. Yeah, exactly, Andy.
The Buchla cards?
And the Pico System 3 that has it as well.
Erica synths. Yeah, the Pico, exactly. I'll shut up. Just let Andy say it. The two things that I was going to say.
Let Andy say.
The two things that popped into my head were the Buchla and Erica synths. So.
Yeah, because you can solder your own. You can also buy the pre-made ones. So it's fun stuff. This thing reminded me of the Electron 4060. I don't know if you've seen that before. It's kind of like Electron 4060 meets Korg Little Bits.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And it's very, very clever stuff. So if you like to tinker,
yeah, I told myself.
Really fun thing to play with.
Did you see that the cards have got nut names? Acorn, cashew, almond, pecan.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't see that.
Henrik, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was sure I wasn't going to buy more modular stuff, but well, I need one thing. I need a Hector, and then it's over. But then I saw this. But I have a limit. I have decided that it must not become bigger than this. So something has to go before something gets in.
You could squeeze it in somehow.
But of course, I'm also going to get the nifty keys, so there will be room for something.
You could put a case down the side. The side of your case has space. Yeah. I mean, we're not...
Yeah, but the problem is we also need to have the bed in the room here. So...
You don't need to sleep. What do you need sleep for?
When the sun moves
Get rid of that bed.
We will have another room.
We don't know the...
Well, I gotta get this model. That's module. That's for sure.
We don't know the price yet.
Sounds great.
Everyone's like, how much? We don't know the price yet. It could be a squillion dollars.
It also reminds me of the reverb that have those little cards you can put in there. I forgot which company makes those. The little preset cards for reverbs. Have you seen those?
That's the same who makes Reverb.
It's not 4MS, but it's
Tip Top.
Tip Top, I think, does it. Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Tip Top. The big one. The big one.
And I think there's one for the 303 clone.
Cards in their own format.
Yeah.
ZDSP says Eric. See, Eric's onto it.
Eric.
Yeah, good on you, Eric. There you go, down the bottom there. Good job. Yeah, I don't know. Like I love the Sino Parker filter sound, and obviously that's one of the reasons why I used to, really gravitate towards the Arturia synths when they first started doing analog synths, because they put the Sino Parker filter in those. And having like the little, micro brute sort of next to Eurorack means that you can patch stuff through the Sino Parker filter. But that drive circuit in that was genius, right? It's different to the way Arturia did the Brute. I think it sounded a lot different. I thought the Brute sometimes sounded metallic at times, so I don't know what the difference is and how it works, but it kind of sounded, warmer. Warmer and
if you have
aggressive.
the metalizer stuff turned on, it gets pretty weird. But it's a nice the Arturia is a nice aggressive, Steiner Parker. But I also have a modular version of it. I think it's LB or something like that. Some funky. It looks almost homemade, but it's a really old Steiner Parker filter.
The Czech Republic guys, the LB guys.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's tall, so I had to basically put standoffs to put it in my case.
Right.
It's a very deep module.
Okay.
So
it's probably all 3-hole electronics in it or something.
It's a bunch of damn cards. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. So there is a bit of product news this week. There's not a lot. A lot of firmware updates. It's pretty quiet product wise. So at least we've got something to talk about anyway. In terms of more news, we did talk briefly about Future Retro, but also what about this? And we kind of didn't talk about this last week. Synthesizers.com for sale. Notice it's synthesizers.com. There is a synthesizer.com. It takes you to the Waves plugin site, so just be careful. It's not the same company. Synthesizers.com, if you're wondering who those guys are, if you've been living under a rock, they make those big, beautiful modular systems, the big cabinets, that sort of stuff. The full-size sort of modules that you get, like the Moog stuff. But James Allen is he's saying, look, it's for sale if someone wants to buy it. And they've got a lot of products. They make, like I said before, full modular synthesizers. They obviously make modules. You can sell them separately. They make cabinets, and there's a massive, huge accessories list. It would be like if someone was really into that and they had a bit of, sell the Lamborghini or whatever, they had a bit of cash to splash. There's a pretty big arsenal at your fingertips if you were interested. I mean, how cool would it be to own a synthesizer company right now? It'd be fun. Anyone want to buy one?
Like MOTM, they were like the first real popular Moog clones.
Yep.
In fact, Apollo Synth Mania has a whole system. It's really nice. He does demos with it.
Yeah. Yep. Need to change my glasses because I can't see. Yeah. So I just, in a way, it's kind of, maybe it's a sad thing about to happen. I don't know how long they are going to last without it being purchased. But so, if you do, or it could be purchased by someone you don't want it to be purchased by. That might happen, So you could be sitting there right now.
An interesting idea. B. Well,
But anything's wrong with that?
Well, whether sort of the music tribe might swallow them up. Because they've obviously got a lot of expertise in that particular area.
Well, it may not be bad.
No, it may not be.
They don't have to make
the
anything
aptitude
or
cost
invent
there,
anything.
but-
So.
I think everyone's thinking the same
selling
thing.
your soul.
Anyway, if anyone sort of is interested, contact James Allen at synthesizers, or James at synthesizers.com, synthesizers with an S.com, as I mentioned before. Usually we're only interested in buying synths here, but hey, you never know. You might want to, you could be that person sitting there scratching that itch thinking, I wouldn't mind owning a synth company and I've got a bit of spare cash lying around. Hey, could be just for you. You could be getting someone.
You could just sell your model now.
You could sell the CS80 and buy synthesizers.com. That could be, it could be one thing that you're doing. Speaking of selling stuff and buying stuff, why don't we do that? Now, Andy, you have been a busy boy. I haven't been able to find the stuff that you've been able to find, so I'm very, very impressed with you. SP12 Turbo with drums, trigger, inboard, factory installed. Only one in the world. Ultra rare. I don't know about that, but it could be true. Okay, so we all know that that Dave Rossum is remaking these, right, to the original specs right now, and they're definitely not 15 grand. Can everyone remember how much they were?
The
About
1200, not the
4.5.
12. This is the original. This is the older one.
Yeah, but just remembering, like, you know, where this all kind of sits. Okay, so and also the Island Instruments have got the S2400, which is the more modern one, which has got analog filters and things in it, which is another cool thing. Anyway, but if this is what you want, what do you think, Andy? Is this a good deal?
I think I've seen an SP12 once ever, and it's. I mean, if you like the grunge, which the 1200 is famous for, this is much more grungy and much less sample time and simpler interface, although it looks kind of similar on the surface.
Yeah.
But they are, I mean, hip hop guys love them. Right? They're revered by them a lot because they're grungy and pretty easy to use. But something that rare would be probably maybe hard to fix. And I'd probably, I mean, I'm happy with my S2400. I just need to use it more. But
Dave's still around though. He could fix it for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's making the new batch of stuff, and so I'm glad to see them still going strong because they're really cool systems. Back when I bought my Emax 2, they were still barely selling them new, and then they quickly went away. So a couple stores had them, and then they were gone. Like they disappeared before the Emax 2 did. But
they went away quietly, didn't they? Don't you reckon? I kind of remember that.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was kind of like a slip away into the dark.
Fanfare.
Yeah. It wasn't like, you know, oops, wrong one. They were having a rage quit and they all just decided to leave. What were we doing? This. Right. Get myself back to where I was. What about this? ARP 2600C. That's getting some pretty...
really early.
That's getting some pretty nasty money, isn't it? 95k. Now this has got the 3604C keyboard, which how many of those do you reckon there'd be, Andy? Guess.
Oh man,
not many.
1971. Yeah, not that many.
Less than 100.
I think I saw more of the blue ones and the original, the other styles more commonly, not the gray one so much. So
the black and orange, yeah.
I think the first time I ever saw gray was actually in the either the Wayatware or the Arturia one, the software version.
The first gray one I saw was at a university in the 80s, and it was rare as anything, but I had no idea at the time that it was. I just thought it was just some bizarre looking synthesizer. Anyway, 95k if that so floats your boat. What about this? Juno 6. Okay, so I was waiting for this sort of stuff to happen. What do you think about Junos going for this sort of money?
It's wacky. I mean, I love my Juno 6, even though it's fairly limited. It does some stuff really, really, really well, but it's not worth that much.
How many Junos did they sell? They sold thousands of them, like probably tens of thousands of them, right?
Yeah, they are not rare.
Especially the 60s.
Yeah, the 6. Yeah.
The 106, I think, was the real big seller, wasn't it?
The 106 was the biggest because it had MIDI.
Yeah, and then they killed the ARP.
Yeah.
No ARP in the 106.
Why?
Yeah.
Why do that? The ARP was awesome.
Because you can sequence it over MIDI.
Yeah, they wanted you to buy their
programmer
programmer
with it. So
they wanted you to buy that stupid programmer.
Probably some kind of a clock issue too. They probably couldn't get to work with MIDI at the time.
Probably. Anyway, what else we got? Another EMU. This is an SP1200 this time. Final edition. Now that's got some sort of 41 of, I can't even see that, 41 of 125 or something on there. Yep. So museum state. Now, I don't know, like, how important would that be, considering that he's making the same thing right now, brand new, and you probably pick it up for $4.5 grand? I don't know. Actually, is it
Because
4.5?
they're around $9,000 or so before he started making the new one. So they were still fetching quite a good price.
They're always fetching a
before
good
that.
price. Yeah. Those prices aren't like out of the park. I mean, some of the ones before were, but this is what things sell for, right? There is going to be a period in time where I think some gear, the used gear price the bottom will fall out of the market. There's got to be a time where people just aren't going to be selling stuff. People aren't going to be buying stuff. You can try and sell it, but it'll just be sitting for sale for ages. Because there's
quick reference back to the Juno 6 thing. When I was working at Apple last time, one of the guys in my group actually had done some music producing stuff on the side, work with Wall of Voodoo and stuff, and he actually had just sold his Juno 60 to the local store. I always go to that, get the goodies in it, with the damn sequencer.
Yeah,
and I saw it there, and it wasn't a bad price because it was a few years ago. It was like around about a little over $1,000 or something like that for a 60 with the sequencer. That's how much prices have changed. But I talked to him. I said, "That's not yours in the stores." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Man, if I caught you a couple of days earlier, I could have gotten not only a better price, but hand delivered." So I missed out on that one.
Yeah. Kosh in the chat was just saying he found a Korg Lambda in Craigslist. Pick it up, mate. Pick that up. Absolutely. They were pretty cool, those things. All right, and a TR-808. Oh, look, this is just getting stupid, isn't it?
Come on.
Yep.
You could pick up a TR-808 only a few years ago for about $3 or $4,000. And I thought they were expensive back then. And that was only a few years ago. And then probably, 10, 15 years ago, you could pick them up for really, really cheap.
Yeah, my friend sold his 808 and 909 for about $2,000, about 2007.
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah. That was probably about when I'm thinking.
A guy was going to rack mount it. He's going to modify it like a Wagyu style.
That is it. That is it, definitely. Yes, yay. What was your favourite? Was it the EMU stuff, the Juno?
That was all silly prices. Every single one of them was daft.
The most expensive was the ARP, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The ARP's probably the one that shocks me the least, because that's a really early ARP 2600 with the original keyboard. That's a proper collector's piece. If you just want an ARP, an ARP 2600 these days, you wouldn't buy one of those. You'd go out and you'd buy either the Korg one, which actually I saw last week at the Gearfest thing, and it looked fab. The Korg version.
I've seen a full size
or the Behringer. This is the one they had there, because all the full size ones, they've all gone. They're not making that anymore. But the mini one, the smaller one, it's still pretty chunky thing. But they go for one of those, or you'd go for the Behringer, wouldn't you? If you just wanted the sound. If you were a collector and you desperately needed to have that one in your collection to complete your set of all the possible ARP 2600s that were available in the 70s, because you got an orange one and a grey one and a blue one. Yeah, you need that one with the handle on the top. I don't know.
It sounded different though.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You guys have to remember too,
nothing like a synth.
But when they made the different
sound
versions,
like a synth, that one at all. It just sounds like a home organ. So that's why you'd want that one.
They made choices when they made those different versions. They made changes to them, just like how you would get, someone else making a version 2 of a bit of hardware because they've improved it. Like we talked about that recently with some gear.
Yeah. Or again, based on what they could actually get, what parts they could get.
Some of the stuff was unreliable.
Available.
Some of the earlier stuff was unreliable too, so you could be getting yourself into a bit of a nightmare.
Oh, Hi, Darren. He's in the chat.
Keith in Watford is saying, he's just giving us an update on the the Xils-labs guys are distributed in the UK by Thonk in kit form. It looks like it's going to be due this month. Be nice though if we had actually had a price for the Scrat, which we talked about. So yeah, if you can find that out, Keith, let us know. I've dealt with Thonk a few times. I just find them a little bit difficult to deal with, because they're based in the UK, and nothing to do with Thonk itself. It's just, the divide of the ocean makes it difficult to deal with them. So, we need a company like Thonk over here in Australia. There's a few like modular people here in Australia, but nothing like Thonk. Thonk is more that sort of DIY, and they distribute some module gears through, their own system. So, but yeah, be good if we got a price for the Scrat, because I'd like to know how much it is. Anyone want to guess? What do you reckon? Should we have a little lottery and see if anyone can guess the price? 90 euros, Wagoo saying.
90 euros for a kit. That's okay if you know what a solder 9 does.
90 euros for a kit is a bit pricey. For a kit, that's a bit pricey, because you've got to do all the work. I mean, you're just getting a bag of parts.
It's about that for a Turing machine.
Yeah.
And you've still got to build it.
This project that I did here...
I wish they offered a built one service.
This project that I did here, the oscilloscope one, that's all done with Thonk bits. So all the knobs and stuff were from Thonk, and the switches. Okay, beautiful. We are going to hit this button. Ooh. Yes, deep breath, everybody. It's time for Name That Synth, everybody's loved and hated segment. Whether you win, you love it. If you lose, you don't. No, I'm just kidding. It is an interesting one this week. They always are interesting. And if you've never ever watched the show and you think, what the hell is he talking about? We are about to show you a video. And that video is going to be of a synth playing in the background, and you'll probably get some visuals of that synth to give you a few clues. But use your ears and see if you can guess what it is before I say time's up, and you could win a prize. And at the moment, the segment is sponsored by Plugin Guru, and the prize is Unify. It's an awesome piece of software. I'll talk about that in a sec. All right, I'm going to mute everybody, and we are going to get this thing happening. Here we go. Right, muting time go. "30 seconds. Here we go. There we go. Time is up, everybody, and let's have a little look what the chatties are saying. We've got a lot of guesses in there. We've got TG33. Bert always thinks it's Timberwolf. I don't know why. Timberwolf 2. I don't even know if they exist, that Bert.
They rule.
All right, let's find out. Let's put everyone's misery out of the way. Let's find out what it was. Here we go. Yes, it was the Yamaha TG33. Fantastic. So, Mr. Brooks.
Yes.
Everyone's going to think it's been rigged because you were the first person to mention that.
As soon as I saw those lines on it, as soon as I saw those lines across the top, knew what that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, not me. Next person down.
No. You've
No. I can't. No. I'm at this point. I'm not going to get used to it. So seriously, whoever's the next person down underneath me.
Well, the next person down. Well, before we talk about the next person down, let me just talk about who brought the video in, because I want to say a huge thank you to the contributor, and that is Makeshifter sent the video in, and so big huge thank you to Makeshifter for doing that. He said it took him 8 hours to make that video. Poor guy.
Oh no.
But we do appreciate it, and yes, it does. Sometimes it does take a while to put these together. I usually say it's about an hour, but it's probably a little bit more than that, to be honest. They do take a little bit of effort to put together. Yeah, so if you are somebody that has an inkling to put a Name That Synth segment together, he actually reminded me of a really good point, and I thought I'd bring it up. And that is that one of the cool things about doing this video, he reminded me that it actually really gets you to get to know that bit of hardware a bit more, because you're forced to show some of its features, some of its benefits, and at the same time, you're trying to make people not get it. You're trying to push that synth maybe into an area where it's maybe not so well known to be. So it's a really good sort of bit of fun that you can have, and all you have to do is just switch your camera on while you're doing it. So big thank you to Makeshifter. Now, the other thing I want to mention too is that Brooksy and Andy and Henrik, none of these people have seen that video, just like you guys watching. So there is no skullduggery going on here. It does seem like there might be, but there isn't. If Brooksy, if you don't want it, I'm more than happy to give it to the next person.
Yes, do.
Well, you get bragging rights at least, okay? You can have bragging rights.
That'll be Connective Zone.
That'll be Connective Zone, yeah.
Yeah.
So Connective Zone.
There you go. Well done, Connective Zone.
Connective Zone.
I get the bragging rights. That's all that counts.
Yeah, you get the bragging rights. Let's get the website up while we're at it too, because I think it's very important that we do. Connective Zone. Make sure you send me through your contact information. Now, some people are saying to me that they don't know how to find that. Well, it is really, really, really easy. So I'm going to show you how to find my contact details. If you don't know how to do it on YouTube, I'm going to show you how to get there very simply, and that is, if we go to this, just go to ranzee.com and click about, and then you can find my contact details all through there. There's all of my contact details there. You can get me through social media. Now, if you go to my YouTube channel, right, and click about, there is my email address there. Look at that down there where it says email, right? So that's how you find my contact details. People, it really isn't hard to find my contact details. So make sure you send me your information that I can send it through to Plugin Guru. Now, I do want to show you guys what Unify is. Unify is what you've won, and you get a couple of other things too. There's a few people here that have won this. So Unify is awesome. It's a fantastic piece of software that's VST based or standalone, that sits on your computer and does basically what you've wished your DAW could do, and that is things like manage patches, random patch selection, have patches across different keyboard splits, load patches through different VSTs at the same time, being able to sort and categorize your patches with different VSTs. That sort of, just that bit of organization alone, and this software does a hell of a lot more than just that, but just that bit of organization alone really does help with the management of your synthesizer stuff inside the box. So congratulations to Connective Zero.
Overall, it's a plugin where you can layer all your VSTs, so you can have them on different channels or the same channels, and you can split them out on your keyboards and play them. It's a very good plugin for using the plugins you have in your computer.
Important that you guys should know that Henrik is actually one of the contributors to the software, so he should know. He should definitely know. Now we do talk about Skippy coming on the show too soon, Henrik. So he hasn't got back to me yet, but he will. He has promised he's going to come on soon, so that'll be cool. We'll give Unify a really, really big plug there. QODNK makes a really good comment, and this was actually one of the problems we had with that segment at the first is, do you have a public list of synths that have already been exposed so that we wouldn't make and name that synth for nothing? I don't, but you could just go back through the Synth Geekery episodes and check. It would be a bit painful. There hasn't been that many. It's not like there's thousands of them. Cynthia. Chris is saying just how awesome your goatee is. So there. Makeshifters in the chat. Did everyone recognise the TG33 by its sound, or was it the visuals? I thought the vector control was pretty infamous. What do you guys think? Brooksy, you were the first to. You got the visuals.
Yeah, straight in on. As soon as the lines across that slightly raised bit at the back.
Yeah,
because it's such an unusual shape that actually the TG33 that I remember playing about with one in the shop years ago, and just remembering that and thinking, what's an unusual? Yeah, that.
Yep.
And there's that little knob up on the top left. I thought, I know that. Yeah. Yes, that's TG straight in.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Makeshifter, that it was the visuals more than the sound. But we've had
that's
these
when I have one over here in the corner, and I didn't get it right away. So
see if you can spot
paying
the
attention
to the sound, and we failed miserably. Remember that we failed miserably. Oh dear.
Yeah. But I mean,
those wheels make me think of RX-21. I think it was RX-21.
Yeah.
Yamaha too. Yeah. But the sounds were not like that.
You know, you can ask Makeshifter. Those who have done the videos enjoy doing them. I've done a few. I think Eddie's probably the guru at this. He's done the most. They're a bit of a labour of love. They do take time to put together, but I reckon it's well worth it because you've got that sort of that possibility that maybe they won't get it. They won't guess what it is.
If you try to make it artistic and obfuscate a bunch of stuff, it does take a while. So you got to come up with camera angles and filters and all kinds of weird tweaks to make it more interesting than just a out of focus thing. So.
Yeah, and you can do what I did and do a 2500 modular system and watch Brooksy lose his shit because he thought I cheated. Anyway,
trickery and skullduggery.
Skullduggery, yes. We're very, very good. But yeah, look, I have to admit this idea has blown into something awesome now. So many, many thanks to everyone who contributes to that segment because I reckon it's a whole bunch of fun. And a lot of people tell me that they really enjoyed just that segment, as one of the highlights of the show. And sometimes when we don't have a video, they get really upset. It's like, oh my God, you didn't have Name That Synth this week. I'm so upset. Anyway, I wasn't cheating. Why does everyone think I was cheating? I wasn't cheating. I didn't win anything anyway, so it's not like I'm like.
Well, it depends what the rules are. I mean, if that was part of the rules, then it wasn't cheating. So
the rules are pretty simple. That is that you have to show a synth. It cannot be anything else.
We have
that's
to define
making
a
that
synth,
sound,
right? Because you know.
Well, technically that's the same synth. It's an ARP 2500 module. Like it's not like I made this, you know, bits of module from all, 15 different module manufacturer and say, oh, that's my synth. Technically, you probably could do that, but I mean, that would be what I would call cheating. But as long as you don't make it sound by, adding other sort of external effects to it, to the signal path, it's got to be the sound coming out.
You could put a bunch of Defra modules together and go, hey, look, it's a synth.
Well, you could, because Dopefer are a synth company. You could say, I've got a Dopefer synth. You probably could. There you go. Someone who's got a like polyphonic Dopefer setup, go for it. I mean,
and if you have a synth which can only make hum, use it.
Yeah,
it's not
exactly. Cheating. It's not, and that like Makeshifter said, one of the cool things about doing the video is it actually gets you closer to playing with that bit of gear that you may not have actually realized. So just ask Eddie. He always talks about how when he does his little videos of those little sound module things that he's got, that it helps him learn and understand some of the, some of the eccentric parts of those bits of gear. There we go. Whew, right, now, well, now that we've done that, one of the things that I did want to do is talk about Henrik, actually, because he's here, and he's got some really, really cool news. Henrik, I just want to get rid of this too. Bandcamp's the best thing, right? Why is bloody Bandcamp making me agree to terms of... Okay. Bandcamp is the best string. What I'm going to do, Henrik, I'm going to give you the floor, and you can tell us about this amazing album that you've just released. Let me just... you might want to have your picture up, by the way, too. So that, because I'll put you in the corner there and you can talk about this. Now, I am probably going to risk getting a copyright strike by doing this. But anyway, it's all worth it. Shall I hit play on this one, or do you want me to choose a specific track?
You can play, yeah, take that one.
Patient Zero?
Patient Zero.
All right, talk us through it.
Yeah. I have been making this album for the last few years. It's about the pandemic. It's inspired by the pandemic, and it's kind of forced by the pandemic. And it kind of tells the story about how it started, how we had hope of it all ending soon, and how we made new vaccines and tried again, and then there was a new wave and all that. At least that was what was in my mind when I made this album. I really like making it, and I hope you will like hearing it as much as I did like to make it. Yeah. Thank you.
Nicely said. Yeah, it's very ethereal, I thought. I had a good listen to it earlier today. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to listen to it, Andy and Brooksy. If you don't, chuck it in your
mixed tracks over time.
Yeah, chuck it in your car or whatever you get a chance to have a listen to it. It's very ethereal. I definitely did get that sort of feeling like, I don't know, kind of like a dystopian society. When I was listening to it, I kind of felt like I was wandering around in this changed world, and it was really well done. There's a lot of emotion in some of that stuff that you're doing too. It's awesome. So definitely check it out. I've put the Bandcamp link in the chat, and also if you guys are watching this as a replay, there's links to Henrik's Bandcamp in the description of the video as well. And also it's on the blog article that I do every week, which is on ranzee.com. So Henrik, bit of gear, what did you use for this?
Oh, I can't remember. Some was hardware, probably the Hydrosynths.
Yeah.
And a lot was plugins. But I also used some DeepMind and Argon and Cobalt and some ModiX. But I think much of it is plugins. At least many of the moods are created by plugins. The bass is usually the Hydrosynths. So it's a mix of everything, and when I'm done with a song, I can't remember what I made it with. So it's just done, and I'm on to the next.
Yeah, definitely surprised me that you mentioned a lot of those wavetable type digital synths, granular, that sort of stuff, because
if you put enough effects on, it doesn't sound digital at all.
Yeah.
Or it can, but that's not what I try to.
What I like about it is you've got these sound effects that are just kind of popping all over the place, right? And it's just like an ear fest. Do you know what I mean? Like you could be listening to this on your AirPods or in the car, and these sounds are kind of just bouncing around everywhere. It's actually really, really cool.
Yeah, I really considered if I should do it like that, because it's people often mono the bass, and I think that's wrong. For a club it's fine, but in a club everything is mono, so it doesn't matter. But for a feeling like this album is, I think there should be space for a bass in the right side, moving to the left side, and as long as you don't fill too much into that area, frequency area, then it works. But it can get muddy if it's in stereo, the bass, and that's why people usually make it mono. But if you keep it clean and don't have too much at the same time, then you can make a stereo bass. I worked a lot with that.
Yeah, it's fabulous, fantastic. Now, have you got this released on all the streaming platforms as well?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Spotify, Apple, all that sort of stuff, if people are into that?
Yeah, well, wherever. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's not available in Russia. And it's not my decision, but that's just how it is.
But the Russians any Russians watching the show, they probably won't be watching the show because YouTube's been banned over there, but if they manage to somehow VPN into the show, they can get it off Bandcamp anyway, right?
Oh no.
Yeah. That's the only place. It's available everywhere else.
I tell you what, the world has gone crazy, right? It's like the people that get affected by the things that happen that governments do are completely innocent, and especially musicians. Like all we want to do is we just want to give someone some enjoyment. It's completely benign. It's not, in most cases it is. Sometimes it's not, but it's an enjoyment thing. It's a it's a thing of love, and it's a thing of sharing. And the last thing we want is people to be stopped or prevented from that sharing. I think it's really sad. But Henrik, don't worry, because you've got your Bandcamp page, and those people who know about you will definitely find you through that way. Anyway, so
yeah, it's sad, isn't it? It really is sad. All those people there, it's not their fault. The ordinary folk, that their leader is let's just say causing problems.
And people too want to blame other people of everything. So if I released it in Russia, some people would hate me for doing that. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really mind. If I say, for example, if I decided, right, I want to release an album and I want to release it in Russia, I don't really care if people hated me for it, because that's my decision. If I wanted to do that, what has it got to do with them? But at the same time, I think the point more is that if I release something, it should be able to be heard by the world, irrespective of where they are from. If they're from North Korea or from Iran or Russia or Argentina, it doesn't matter where they're from. They should be able to listen to it free without any sort of political, prevention.
Well, I said Russians are very resourceful. They'll find a way to get it if they want it. So.
Depeche Mode, they were very famous, very popular in Eastern Berlin, Eastern Germany during the Cold War. So I don't see why we are not allowed to have our music available in Russian.
Yeah, there's a few good comments in the chat. It's art, not politics, says JP Page 2. It's not the Russian people who are in the wrong, says Tasquatch. Absolutely. There's a lot of good people in bad places, says Wagoo. So yeah, you're here, guys. Absolutely. And, we're all lovers, not fighters, us musicians. So, leave us out of your petty political crap. That's what I say. What about Jean-Michel Jarre, how he managed to crack China in 81 when he concerts in China? He was the first European to perform live in front of, the country. How long did it take before they'd let someone in? It was crazy. I mean, you think 1981, people had been touring for 100 and something years, musical people, string ensembles and symphony orchestras and that were touring for many.
Well, Billy Joel performed in Moscow
years.
A long time ago. And
he was
the Poland concert across the Iron Curtain. So
yeah. He was one of the first, wasn't he, Billy Joel?
And the first Western pop act to play there was Wham.
Wow.
Of all bands.
Wow.
Jean-Michel Jarre in 1981, and then Wham played. I think was it Elton John? I'm pretty sure it was Wham.
I think it's Wham. I think Elton came after. Yeah, it was all pretty close by, but I'm pretty sure it was Wham. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Henry, back to your album. I kind of wonder. Like, sometimes I don't like asking this question because we don't want to define you based on this question. But when we don't have the knowledge behind what you've put this album from, we often are sort of wondering what influences, you may have had to put this together. And sometimes you might just say to me, there's no influences, it's just whatever I decided. But I'm just interested, are there any influences that you feel kind of helped you put this album together, or is it just purely something different?
Well, my genre is based on what I heard 30 years ago, but I don't like what I hear on the radio today. So I don't hear radio. I've always loved music in movies, in sci-fi movies especially, and I think it's inspired a lot by that, and then by some ambient stuff I heard in the early 90s. I think that's it. But often, if I plan to make a song and say it shall be like this, then it ends like something completely different. It's never going to end like I start. So
wow,
it's the sounds I use which moves it in a direction where it ends. That's how I make music.
So it's kind of an organic thing, is it? That you kind of ebb and tide, flow with the flow sort of thing.
Yeah.
Nice. Good to know. Yeah.
Sometimes I start with a rhythm. Sometimes I start with a bass. Sometimes it's some effects, the mood. It's the sounds that create it.
For those people who are out there and they're thinking to themselves, look, I haven't pumped an album out for a while, or I haven't even got an album yet. What? I mean, I know this, but this is not for me. This is a question for everyone watching. What goes into making an album? Like, is it a lot of work? or is it a thing that you just have to be disciplined for? What goes behind it?
It depends on your goals and your rules. You may want everything to sound in the same genre, and then you have to take it like that. But this album, I've made it over a few years, so I've collected each time I made a song which hit this genre. I saved it under a name that fitted this album because I knew I wanted to make an album about the pandemic, and so I've made other albums in the same period, or at least songs for albums. So I have a lot of songs that I need to master for something else, and now I had enough to make this album, so I mastered all those songs. That's how I work. So I have many projects on at the same time, and then when I have enough for one project, I finalize it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Do you feel the topic of the album is related to some of the gear you use? Do you think that there's a link between, the theme of the album, the pandemic theme, right, and the gear that you've chosen? Do you think there's some sort of link to that? Or is it completely about the sounds?
It's more about the sounds. For example, I have some songs where there are some bleeps, beeps, and all that stuff. They can be made on any synthesizer or any plugin. So it's about the sounds. It's not about where they come from.
And you're getting those sounds. You're kind of like, that's the sound I want, and what does it? That does it. I'm happy. I've got the sound, and you just move on to the next. Is that what you mean?
I don't think so much about it. I just sit and jam and make it, and I make it in Cubase. I think I have 10 more songs for this album that I didn't choose to take because there was something that where they didn't fit together, and then I always try to keep a limit to making an album about 35 to max 40 minutes. It could have been much longer, but people get tired if it's so long. So there are many reasons to not use everything we make or I make. Yeah.
So Chris, Sentient Sound, has asked, what strategy do you use to make the album sound cohesive in your mixing?
I have no strategy. I just make a lot of songs, and then I pick those that fit together for an album. That's just how I do. I don't think a lot of what I do, a lot about how I do things. I just do it. If thinking is involved, it will not be too good. So it's just about feeling what you're doing.
Yeah, you're kind of similar. I'm kind of similar to you. Like, if you think about things too much, it train wrecks, doesn't it? And you don't get that sort of organic result. You kind of end up having these stops and starts, and it just ends up being a mess. And you just think, nah, it's too hard. I'm just going to scrap that. Is that kind of what you mean? Yeah.
And sometimes you can make a song in an hour and think it's nothing, and you save it and export a WAV file for that, and then you return to it 6 months later, and it sounds great. So just save everything you do.
Yeah, just press record. Absolutely. Good advice. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really, really good. And congratulations. I kind of feel like it's a celebratory thing when you release an album. Like, it's a labor of love, and to sort of put a whole, collection of tracks together and go, right, these all kind of belong to this album, and this is a theme, and it's a celebratory thing, I think, and it's not something that you should take lightly. I think we should all be sort of, if you manage to produce an album, you should be patting yourself on the back and saying, you did it, well done. Give yourself a massive, pat on the back. Tell the wife to take you out to dinner and celebrate, any excuse. Tell her that you deserve a new synth, whatever floats your boat. I'm due for an album this year.
But at the same time, when releasing an album, you've heard it so much, so you're trying to get a distance from it. So So when it's released, it's I do listen to it, but
it's out there.
But again, I need a break before I listen again.
Yeah.
So.
Do you do the usual thing where you try it in the car and other places just to see what it sounds like?
Not really, because I've got an okay speaker setup and use Sonarworks reference 4, I've just got my hearing aids, and they have really improved everything. It's incredible to be able to hear it right. So this time I was sure it sounded right. I only listened on the speakers here and on the speakers at my work, and that's speakers for video editing, and it sounded great. So I was sure this is perfect, and this time I did something. I actually, when I've mastered it, I lowered the treble or all the high bands, and it sounds much better than my previous albums. So I was kind of sure this time it was good.
Yeah. Now Darren's, who supposed to be on the show and decides to turn up late, thinks that he can just make comments and we'll post them. No, just kidding, Darren. I will tell Rave Dave all this Ranz, but he will just say, and I think he's censored the rest. Well, tell the Purple Monster that Henrik's done more albums than he has, so he needs to get off his butt.
Dan is he's in another genre, but he's really good too. I know I've been after him with the Sissy album, but I really like his music. I do.
Yeah. We all do. It's really good.
Make more.
Yeah. Yes. Anything from you, Brooksy, before we sort of wrap up the show?
Anything from me? Well, I'm going round to Grace's after this, and we're going to do another jam for Hardware Jams tonight based on the theme of broken.
Yes, that's true.
I'm actually going to take round the base station because it's broken, and he's got the base station's got all sorts of sort of problems with it. It's just makes wigged out noises, so we'll see what happens. Grace has currently got one of my pedals, the Boss heavy metal pedal, and that's not working properly either, so no doubt we're going to use that one too. I thought about the idea of doing, the idea that our state is broken and putting loads of, and our government and put loads of current Boris samples in, but apparently that's not going to happen. So, then it'll be one of those things. We'll sit and we'll see what happens. It's going to be just see what happens, and quite looking forward to that because it's been a while since we've done a jam because Grace has been busy. And then I've got to put together a set for EMOM on Thursday of this coming week, That's in Derby. Actually, Jim Glue's organised that event. He's become big for that, and it's looking already a lot of interest in it. So I'm going to be just putting a thing together on the modular for that. Then next weekend, actually, Ranzee, I'm not around next weekend because it's my brother's 50th birthday and he's having a do down in Harpenden, so it's a big family bash. So I'll be at that. So I'm letting you know that. But after that, I should be free. Not got any real plans, so just noodling away.
The weekend of the Saturday the 30th, which is 3 Saturdays away, there won't be a show on because I'm working.
Right. Okay.
So, but that's still a little while away. Yeah. So just to remind everybody, if you do like to continue the discussion during the week, there is the Discord channel. It's free. It has no ads being bombarded on there. It's a great little platform, and so you can synth out during the week. I want to let Graham know that I've received his email, so do not stress. I've got that. That's Connective Zone. So congrats again. I'll make sure that gets forward through to Plugin Guru. Andy, nice to have you on the show as usual. I know it's early in the morning over there, and I really appreciate you getting up early, as I always say, but it never does lessen. I always appreciate it, and I do think it's
good fun.
It's a big sacrifice that you make for us, and so we all appreciate it. Henrik, awesome to have that album released. Really, really enjoy it. So get onto that, everyone. Definitely flick him some coin if you can. Other than that, we're going to finish the show.
I did, actually. I've flicked you some coin, Henrik, and downloaded it.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic. Awesome. Alrighty.
I'm very happy.
Don't forget to do all the usual things.
This month.
Thanks, Magoo, for the chuff. And there wasn't one that went through before I missed too. So whoever that was, I do apologise.
John Simpson.
John Simpson. Thanks, John, for the... where was it? Yep, there it is there. Thanks, John, for that as well. Much appreciated. Don't forget to do all the YouTubey things because it is a YouTube channel. I do want to say, as I should be doing this more often, a big thank you to the people that do support me, other than the people that are on the show, are these people, and that is the patrons. Got a couple of new ones in there. Good to see that. Got some stuff happening on Patreon soon, very soon. And the channel members are the YouTube channel members, so you see them in the chat. They're all green looking. Obviously, we also thank Skippy for the Plugin Guru prize. So there you go. Big thank you to all of those people there. And the cheesy tune was made by me many, many years ago. Sorry about that. On that note, we are going to say enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks everyone for being part of the show.
Just a quick thing.
See you soon, folks. Sorry, Andy.
Quick thing to mention, not just the Hardware Jam thing this weekend, but there's the Hardware Jam Stream Fest coming up. I think it's 2 weeks.
Oh, yes.
Bunch of people doing 15-minute sets, so that'll be fun. I'm going to do something for that, so we'll see.
Awesome. All right. Get your hardware jams happening.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I'm going to hit this button. Bye.
Okay. Take care, everyone.
Bye.